Okay, hi there guys. Just let me know if you can hear me. I've had a few problems with my mic, I think, but it may be all good by the looks of it. All right, let's see who we got on today. So I just get myself organised. Haven't really been playing around this morning. Been keeping myself a bit busy. Haven't got too organised just yet. Sharon, how you going? Fantastic. All off and running then. Sharon's down. Can you hear me? G'day, Helen. How are you? All right, let's get going then, guys. Welcome. Welcome to Trade Setup in the live stream. It's the 19th of March today. So we're look on the open. We're not looking too bad. It's backed off since there. Backed off some not a major resistance level, just backed off some highs. So g'day Ryan. G'day Bobby. We'll take a look at that in a second, just where the ASX is sitting. Looking at the Dow, go over the markets. Cryptos, that's, if anyone watches that, they've ticked off. I think they had, was it a G20 meeting, and they said they're not going to enforce rules or regulations just yet. They're not going to tie it up that way. So I think cryptos are just taken off up about 10%. So that's good if you're a crypto trader. I know we've got a couple in the chat that are crypto traders, so they'll be quite happy. Might get a bit of market sentiment, might shift a bit. It's been heading south of late, but they might pick up and see some buying back into there, but we'll see. All right, for anyone that's new, welcome. And we've got on the top left, so you'll see Twitter. I know there's a few people who are probably sick of hearing this. You'll see on the screen Facebook, and then the bottom right, just link into us on YouTube. And also, what I just want to throw out there, if anyone's got any ideas, anything they want to take a look at during the streams, rather than me just rabbit on about different things, if there's anything that takes interest to you, or you think that you'd want a bit of, you may need a bit of help, look, everyone's got their own opinion, but it's always worth just chucking out there and see what the forum's got to say, what everyone else might have to say as well. We'll go over it. If there's any ideas you want to cover that may be of interest to people, yeah, just chuck it out there. Let me know. You can send an email through to support@tradesetup.com.au. Otherwise, just throw it into chat at the start, and we'll see if we can get through it. Otherwise, I mean, if you wanting to look at some currencies, you want to look at some cryptos, anything at all, we can always just chuck up a chart and have a chat about it. Also, anyone that's been following Trade Setup for a while, you see that we're slowly working away in different directions. We've just been adding IPOs, so we want to do capital raisings, corporate actions, things like that. That a few people will have access to. Well, everyone's got access to when you've got the actual app. But there's some that might be sophisticated, some might not be. But you'll see those start to pop through. Yeah, Sharon, I agree with your wrap. I'm liking the look of it anyway. I've got it for a while. I've had it for a while there. Yeah, but with the ICOs, if anyone's following the trade setup, you'll be getting more and more. So far we've had a couple. We've had SEI. If anyone, you can chuck that on the chart. That's got, I think it was at float, a capital raising at 2.5 cents. It's only small and it's a good little asset. I mean, they've got a great little asset, and it's now around. It's only around 3, but it's pumped up to about 3.6 or so of late. But you expect that to kick on a bit. I think they're doing some good things. So that was whoever got that in the. I think we had a few people getting that in the capital raisings. That looks good. We had the crypto one, obviously, Ivy Coin, which is yet to get started, but we had it. That had a good capital raising. We did quite a bit on that, so there's a good opportunity for people. We're going to be doing a few more, so we want to start building on that. There's other areas we want to start building on also. Clement, how are you, buddy? We want to start building some other areas. If there's anything you think that it could help you or could help build the product itself, just let us know. We're always open ears here. I've got big ears myself, so always I'm a listener. Don't ask my wife that; she'll say the opposite. All right, let's get into it then. I'll get rid of that, and I'll just change my screen so we can see the full screen. There we go. That should be right. All right, so the markets. Not playing ball at the moment. What are we down for? So financials. It's not the financial. I want to look at energy just quickly. I'm seeing a couple of energy stocks that's not looking too bad. I mean, that's had a good run up here. It's got to accelerate a bit higher, but it's pulled right back. It's into a good little zone here on that energy sector. So we might see a few of those energy names in that sector pick up a bit. So just keep an eye on those. Unless it's going to be a bit of this action, you can see that market sort of grind higher, a bit like this, and then boom. If I make that thicker, it's going to disappear, isn't it? Yeah. What am I doing here? So this is a weekly chart. This is just energy while we're looking at it. You can see it grinding higher and bang, big sell-off, lower high, boom, straight down, and we've got that grindy price action. So we could get that. But the fact is that we've gone quite low of late, and you see on the monthly, got choppy here, roll over, bang, big move down. We could head south a bit just to build a higher low, but the weekly is actually not. It's in a good little zone. The weekly, it's getting really overcooked on the downside, overextended, and we're building potentially that higher low around that 100 mark. Was it 10,000 mark? The daily, we're hovering around that overcooked mark as well. So there could be a bit of upside, and it's just something to keep an eye on. Let's go over the XJO. Look, it's still squeezing in price. I've read different people have got different opinions here. At lower highs, pressure in the market. And if you're a bear, yeah, that's great. But if you're a bull, you're still doing all right if you're a bull too, because it's still got higher lows. We can see this price action, which it built those lower highs, lower lows, and it was looking like it was ready to roll, then boom, straight up. And that really just held on to that longer term weekly trend. It was really just a sort of that reversion to the mean style of trading where it did get ahead of itself rather than pull back, it consolidated sideways until the MAs caught up with it and then took off again and continued that weekly trend up. So whether we're going to see that, I just want to get something up. Where is it? There we go. Whether we're going to see a bit of that price action, it might just get the squeeze into higher lows, lower highs, and just squeeze itself in. Or it could just push down, but still the weekly trends are key, what we're holding, and it's got to clean out a few people. I think it's still got a bit of that, what would you call, pessimistic traders or the bears, just to squeeze them out of the market, or those early longs that jump back in when we got that bounce, just to squeeze them out and then reset itself. And hopefully it can reset itself at higher levels above, say around that 59, 59.50 where we are. But I think it's going to look. I mean, it can easily pop down and retest this zone, but I think that trend would still be holding. Then let me just draw it up. We're probably about here, aren't we? Just want to see roughly where it is sitting at the moment. Yeah, I mean, so it's got a lot of room really. You know, I don't take. You know, you can either take it across the lows, which we're still, we're still hanging in there. If you take it across, so the closes, the weekly close, I take it right on the lows. Pretty much my support along the lows because it's just got to do with me. Where it closes. I mean, if you're looking at stops getting triggered, they're going to get triggered. So that's why I like to take the lows. So the low of the day, you know, stops and push it down there. Whatever. That's just my feeling on where I put my support lines. Getting sidetracked, but I mean, you can see this market can easily chop down to 58, hold that level. Could easily just wash that zone out and then build and still hold this weekly trend up. So I think we're still sitting pretty. I mean, it's the daily action that's. I mean, you can see the weekly's getting a bit extended down here, but also that daily action. It's this choppiness. People are looking at this as a lower high and going to press through. We are probably going to be in a bit of trouble if we get through 59. But then again, you know, we need that washout. We need this washout of the market. I mean, especially the US. I think it's more got to do with the US than anything else. But it's still also setting itself up to contract in and then explode higher. So it's still an each way bet for me. I mean, you can't be a bull or a bear just at the moment. We are getting lower highs, but we're also getting those higher lows. The daily is taking a bit of heat. It's getting extended to the downside, and you can see this push down. If you're a divergence type of trader, you're getting potentially a bit of divergence here. Uh, Not exactly. I don't know what the hard and fast rules are for it, but this move down was a bit weaker than this move, which is a bit weaker than this move. So that the sell off or the moves lower are getting bought up a bit. We just have to see how it goes over this week because I think the next few days will tell if it can pop back up to 6,000, you know, sort of oscillate around here. Then I'm still angling towards that contraction where you get higher highs, but lower highs as well. Sorry, higher lows and lower highs, just squeezing in itself, and then we'll see where it goes from there. Dow, look, it's looking very similar on the daily. It's, you know, you can see that the MAs are coming right in themselves. The weekly, there's an argument to say that, you know, we're just reverting to the mean here. When you go back to that daily, if that's the case, you know, the weeklies come back to the mean. Whether we can squeeze in here and pop out, I mean, the key level is going to be around that 25.5, which is still about 500 points away, but we can grind up there and break up through there, then I think the market's going to be on to the upside. But I still think with the US could be a bit of a different move. You've got one, still putting pressure. We could have that secondary leg lower. I think if we get through this low, just down at, was it 24,668, thereabouts, that take out this low from, I mean, on daily a few days ago. So what's that, Friday, Thursday, Wednesday low? If we take that out, we could be targeting down towards 2250, and then I would expect potentially a test at least down to 23,750 or have that secondary leg lower. And it'd be interesting to see how the ASX takes it. You know, like we're a bit of a negatively based market. We're not as bullish as a lot of these other markets. We haven't got bad fundamentals, I don't think. I know a lot of the mining boom or the into the mining boom as such took a bit of heat out of this market, out of the rallies. Although a lot of the small caps and a lot of the miners are kicking off, have been kicking off for a while now. But yeah, ASX is not particularly going on with it as much as, say, what we've seen with the FTSE, the DAX making all-time highs. I think the DAX has. US all-time highs, they just kick on strong. So yeah, we'll see how this goes. I'm just looking at the monthly. I mean, you can see the monthly, it's accelerated up. So the monthly definitely looks like it's, you know, we're prepping for that secondary move down just to clean out a lot of these late buys that bought it up, say, most of last year. Wash them out of the market, reset itself, build that longer term higher low, and then we'll see if it can grind back up again. Again, that's going to take a bit of time if that plays out, and we're going to take a bit of heat. What do we got here? That was what we got there. It's a Dow. Just look at see on the S&P, it's looking more to me that was just a bit of a wash out of the high the last few days ago when we popped up to 28. It's more of a wash out of this level, what I'm seeing. So I think we're going to have a bit of problems we could be. Let's just draw it up actually. Rather than bang on about. G'day, Laurent. How are you, mate? Let me get this up. So this is the, what am I drawing that for? I don't want that. I think this is sort of what I'm looking for here. Potentially if we pop up, during the week, we get a bit of a grind and we start building that lower high below that 28 mark. I'm looking for this more as a washout. This little pop up here, more of a washout of the previous high. And then the market, if you get that lower high, then I think it's going to accelerate. Then you're going to be starting to look down towards that 26.50, down towards those lows at 25.25, and potentially having that one leg all the way down, which could take us somewhere, give or take, down to 24.25. We could easily get down here in this zone around here. Just if we extend that, if we get that secondary good push down, and that will probably come in. I think it's going to take a while. Obviously, I don't think that's going to happen over the next few days, but I think, well, it could, no bloody doubt, the way the volatility comes in there. If that volatility starts picking up and we get that bit of a sell-off, anything could happen. And that's sort of playing into the hands of that, that secondary move down the weekly, take a bit more heat out of this market, and especially on the monthly as well. The monthly's just had that minor pullback here. We could have that secondary pullback, and on the monthly scale, it's not really much at all, but it would really clean out a lot of the late buyers into the market. And really, what you'd be looking for there, you're just drilling down to the weekly and the daily, is just to see if you can start holding up, build those high lows. Obviously the daily is starting to lead the weekly, and then see if we can get that secondary push up. And don't forget, I think there's talk. What I was reading, the Nasdaq didn't do too well. So the Dow was up on Friday, S&P was up slightly, not quite as much, but the Nasdaq was a bit lower. I think they're looking at that as a potential concern because the Nasdaq has been the hero of the bull market, they call it. The hero of the bull market lately, and they've all those Nasdaq companies, you got Amazon, Apple, all those sorts of guys have been really kicking up and really dragging this market higher. So if that starts running out of steam, because a lot of these companies are well overcooked, then if we get a bit of profit taken in there, that could start dragging the market and it could be a lot of room for concern there. Over in the US anyway. Again, we always have to sit back and just see how's this going to affect us. Obviously, our banks, I think, are really struggling at the moment. And that's what's really capping our market, the ASX at the moment. There's a lot of opportunity out there. There's a lot that are going quite well still. Let's just go over what we've got in saying that. So we've got Hub was a new one today. New one on Friday. Sell at 10.44. So that's going nicely. That's probably it's an overly aggressive entry for me. If it works out, that's my idea. If it doesn't work out, I'm going to give this one to Dav. If you're listening, mate. But you can see the reasoning behind this. The Russell, I haven't actually looked at it, to be honest. I mean, the Nasdaq at the moment, you've got a lot of those stocks have been kicking along really strong. That's why they're looking at the Nasdaq at the moment. And if the heat comes out of there, then yeah, you're going to expect a lot of those companies, and I think in the Dow as well, and obviously the S&P, the broader market, may not come down and get hit as much, but I'd expect a lot of those big boys that have been going up really strong through the bull market. A lot of others have been dragged up just by the pure momentum of the overall market. But a lot of those bigger ones on the Nasdaq, if they start rolling over, then yeah, they could have a bit of problems. Russell, I don't even know what's actually on the Russell, to be honest. I've never really followed it. Let's see if we've got it. All right, let's just not worry about that. I don't know what the code would be. Let me just see if I can find it. Look, I could be looking through here for a while. I won't bother. If you know the code for old Sparky, that would help. So we've got Hub. That's a short on, and the reasoning behind that is pretty much. Go over that. Is you've essentially got this double top. The market's pushed up, got to just below 12, had a big pullback just to clean out some of these late buys. Started to go up again and got rejected to slightly below the previous high. You can see just say around that 1180, 85 mark on this big red candle here. We are on the We're on the daily still. So that's massive rejection and then a lower high and it pressed down. And the market's tried to hold a high low just in here, started to push up again, but now we're getting that rolling over. The market's definitely rolling over here. And you get this, it's pretty much just about 50% of this move down, or, this move down. About 50% of that sort of bounce back up again. And then you got sellers hitting it. And you can see the pressure when originally when it got bought up, you can see the stochastics here. On that move up there, it's quite strong, quite heavy buying. All right. And then we got the sellers just slammed it back down again. And then you can see, and they all the way back down to oversold. Really fell short of this low, so it didn't really retest the low. It was potentially a nice little spot to build a high low. Then it popped up, and the buyers really given another good effort to push it back up. So you can see the stochastics back up in over 80% into overbought territory. The buyers really given a good nudge, but the price couldn't get anywhere near these highs again. So it's showing that the sellers are really stepping up their game and really starting to pressure this market. So anyone that's been, you can see that the longer term, this market's been just cruising up quite strong. It's been holding higher lows. Really longer term, just been grinding higher through mid 2015 all the way till about now, and it started so good part of the last year extending. You can see the steepness of this move up. It started to get a bit ahead of itself, I think. So I think there's going to be a lot of profit taking. It's in a great area to get that profit taking. Anyone that's been holding it through last year, even the start of last year, even through 2016, is sitting on some handy gains. Even if you bought it into the end of last year, around 7 or so towards 8, you're sitting on some gains there, and you really don't want to be giving up, especially if you're late to the trend, if you're late to that move up. They'll be the first ones that get squeezed back out of the market. And just the overall price action is leading me to believe that if this essentially is your double top and then you've got that lower high coming into play, I would really expect that if we can draw this up, really just to put that squeeze on. So you've got your double top in here, you've got the market's pressed lower, it's popped back up, and it's coming back down again. So if we just really from high to low, if we extend it out, it could easily get down here, just as a bit of a retracement, or a more of a complex correction. If it is a complex correction, being in nice and early means you've got a lot of room to move. And if it is that complex and only gets down to here, rather than hitting these lows down at 6, maybe some support through, well, 850 might provide a bit of support. You might have some back at 9. So we just have to see. We're in nice and early, and if it does pop down here and react off that zone through that 9.25, 9.20 mark, give or take. If it does react off there and you start seeing some buying and this daily is getting overextended on the downside, it's going to be at least an area where we can take some profit and just see if it builds another lower high up somewhere around 9.50 to 10 and then roll over again, just smash through that support. There's obviously when you're dealing with shorts, you're not in blue sky like you are when the market's just moving up nice. You've got a lot of support zones which could bring in some buying that you've got to contend with. So they can be hard and fast. They can just smash straight through it, or it can just be straight down and then rebound and then bang straight back up and stop you out. So you've got to be really on your toes, I think, on the short side. But this one has a lot of room to move on the downside. I mean, if it clears out these zone 850 to 9 with this move down and just starts pushing down, because there's a lot of buyers in there that could easily get squeezed out and really put the heat on this market, on this share price. It could easily get down to 6, without really blinking. I mean, if it gets through to 750, I mean, there's a lot of little zones in there. Like I said, I'm sort of looking at this potentially 7 to 6 if we can just extend through there. But only time will tell. Does that make sense there? So while we got in short on this, it's really just that it's more of an aggressive trade anticipating this lower high. And you're really not taking too much risk on it if we're wrong anyway. What are the others? SMI, that's starting to look like it's kicking up. I want it to get up through this high. I really would love to see it push up through that high at 789 today. I think the overall market, the ASX itself, is probably just capping at it slightly. But if we can get that, it's obviously spiked up in volume compared to Friday, more in line with what we saw on Wednesday. So the buying volume is there and it's holding up these levels up at 750, holding it just above there. So if we can kick up, extend up through there, and if it does extend today and get through 8, rather than sit around waiting for, we've got a profit target, a partial exit around 820, may just take it off then, just to be on the safe side, because you never know what's going to happen. And just let the rest run. We'll get onto that in a sec. Actually, looking rubbish, that APT. Let's do that now. Not a big fan of it just at the moment for old APT. I'll draw it up. Now, it looks like this one here is just looking not very good. I think apparently I found somewhere, I read somewhere that there's a few shorts that built up through here. The shorts really started to pop up. I mean, there's nothing to say this could. The only problem is we've got our stop somewhere around there, so it could easily push down. I think if we can get through that level, there's a good chance we could stop out. This is a small loss, but it's worth the risk. I just don't like the way this has really come down. It could easily hold up here, hold a high low here, and then bounce. But in all honesty, it's just not looking that great. It's really starting to accelerate on the downside. So all these buyers that bought it in here is just boom, straight back down again. But longer term, yeah, longer term. Oh yeah, Melon. Sorry, that's probably coming straight through the mic. Sorry about that, guys. I'll have to move my mic. So yeah, that's you've got a key level up at that 8. It's really starting to look. It was looking good up until here, except the only thing what I found as a bit of a concern was that we're starting to get extended up here, and you're probably finding that weekly too. We might be getting, yeah, just running out of steam at that 8 mark. So we'll have to just see what happens. If we can get a bit of a kick up, and if we bounce from here and build a lower high and start to really struggle around 750 to 75, might just cut it and call it a day on it. But either way, that's not too bad. We've got we've gone through hub, gone PPH. PPH is starting to kick up again. It's not looking like a bad day. So we've taken a partial at 402, I think it was, or 404, around there, 402. On this push up here, of course, it kept going, but it just popped up through this high. So I just wanted to take one. It's always good, you sit on some handy gains from there, from this move through. I think it was around 370. We got it somewhere in here. When it pops up through there, and you get extended, you got a couple of days, and it starts to accelerate like that up towards the highs. You're better off just taking a partial, booking your 8% or 7% or whatever we got on it, and then just see what happens, because there's a good chance. I don't mind the fact that it's actually popped through those highs. We got a high here 407 and we got to 415. I don't mind the fact that we actually push through it rather than hit it and pull back. It's always a good sign if you can push through it and then it can just pull back, build that high low, and then just start to accelerate. So what that tends to do a lot is just get those breakout traders there, maybe stop them back out, but really just pull back and then get that momentum to start grinding back up. If they all start to chase it again, if that's the case, that'd be really nice. So that's on PPH. We've only got half running on that. We'll see how that goes. RSG. Oh, nice. So this one here, Resolute. We're in at 121. It's the weekly that has really taken my fancy, and I guess you can see the reasoning behind it, and it's pretty clear. You've got this big move up, big reaction off the highs, pushed straight back down to around that dollar mark, reacted up, and then you can just see it got a bit choppier. So that choppy price action as you're coming back into that support, not a bad idea because people are buying it potentially on the way down. It's just showing that the buyers are starting to creep back into the market. And then when we got this little pop up here, the last lower high, it pulled back. It actually built a higher low above $1. So off this essentially a double bottom. Around, off that low and that low there, that double bottom there, built that high low above $1. What do we get to? $1.02, and started lifting again. So we bought it on the rise on the weekly. So the weekly looks good. Bought it on the rise through here. Breakout there. It's had that little pullback and it's just holding that 120 zone. And now just seeing it take out the last couple of days highs, especially that red candle there. It's taken out what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 daily highs. So I'm expecting that now to start kicking on, take out this high, which would be awesome, at 126.5. Then you'd start be looking towards that 130 zone, these highs, go back to the weekly just to see what we're starting to target. Probably around that 130, high 130 on that week. And then you've got this little high. It may not prove to be much resistance at all, but we'll see. But either way, that is starting to lift. We're starting to get that lift out, which is really nice. I just saw that today. It's only happened in the last few minutes, I'd say, last 20 minutes. That's RSG. That's good, and that's it. So that's all we got at the moment. Short's going in our favour. That long's going in our favour. That long's going in our favour. It's all going in our favour. This mongrel of an APT. but we'll see. You can't have them all. All right. Any questions just on what we're talking about there? There's not too much I'm looking at. I like Origin we just sent out today. I don't mind that. I just think it's in a good little zone on the weekly and the daily. You can see it's coming off overextended to the downside on the daily. I think it's got a little bit more work to do. I'd rather see, just roll over, have another little high low, hold another little high low, and give us an inside level of trade-off just to break out of that contraction lower. But you can see it's got one move down, popped up, lower high, pushed down to that 820 mark, which is looking good, and then popped up. You build another lower high, but then we're looking like we're in the midst of building a higher low. So that's always good to see. And if we can just get a bit more contraction, I think that can start to lift. And going back to the weekly, then we start attacking that, probably around that $10 mark, and then you've got the next major high to contend with around 11.50. So that could be good. STO's doing something similar. I like that a little bit more. You can see that buyers are just starting to step in a bit higher. It could, it's extended on the daily on the way down. It's getting extended on the weekly as well to the downside. So that selling pressure really can't get it down too far. The one thing just to be wary of if you're looking at STO is that the fact that it's had a good probably 6 months, 7 months of just a rally with really out any contraction at all, without any heat coming out of that market. This is the first really decent pullback we're having. And just after getting through that $5 mark. But there's nothing to say if it can hover around that 5 and start building, you can get this another secondary leg up, and that could push us easily to 8. But we'll just have to keep an eye on that as well. So the couple I've just got on the cards at the moment. 5GN, it's having a rubbish day today. It's not very nice, is it? Selling volume just spiking up a bit as well. But in context to this action, what I'd be looking at here, I really would want to see if, just to give you a heads up on what we're looking at on price action. We're big price action traders. I love it. I think for me, that's the key anyway. However you enter, everyone obviously enters on different signals, but the price action is what you want to be just keeping an eye on. This year, that longer term trend is definitely up. Even though we've got these couple of days, bang, this is where people get caught. Come down and they can just, the fact that it's accelerating, I'm not a big fan of it accelerating into those lows, but it's in a nice little zone where it could easily pick up here at 65. It's come accelerating down here and popped up, accelerated back down again, and then got a bit choppy here as we got this, come back down, had a good move up. And what that move up just recently took out 80 zone. So getting that correction, if we start pulling back like that and we start getting this type of price action, a bit more corrective and holding higher lows, I think that's going to be the key. And then we're going to sooner or later get one that's going to start accelerating back up towards the highs and potentially just go all the way up straight into new highs, through that 90 and just go in the clear sky. But I'll keep an eye on this one. It's only a small, 5GN, the code is 5GN. A few people don't look at it. It's probably a bit too small for a few, but look, if it's going to give you the results, that's all you care about. All right, let's go through. Going to have some coffee again. Just want to read what we've got. All right, so Clement, you want to take an IFN wrap? We'll start off with wrap. Wrap, you can see it's looking like there's two things with this. Obviously, just so you all know, I do hold this one. I think it's an average of 11. So I actually held it up here. When it gapped down, I bought a big chunk, made a little gain when it bounced back up. And then, so the average is around 11 from there. In a gain at the moment, but it's looking like it's, you can see it's just starting to roll up this whole time. You've got this big gap that it could potentially close right up to 30. Who knows? But I mean, the company itself is not doing bad things, so I don't mind the fundamentals. I think they're looking okay. I mean, probably a lot of people out here know a bit more about me, what's happening fundamentally, but from what I've read, I don't mind them. I don't think it warrants this kind of holding down here for too long. See that 6 mark, and then you started just lifting. You can see ever so slightly, high lows, as people were just edging back in, and then every time it did a little spike up, it's come back down, a little spike up here, come back down. But the whole time it's holding high lows. It seems to be where it could potentially be accelerating now, because it's taken out this, that level around 12. Recently, it washed out that 12, which is a previous little bounce high. when it originally gapped down and bounced back up and then sold right back down again, obviously, but it's just taken out that high. So this could be the start of it starting to close this gap up to, even if we get anywhere near it, 28, that 20 zone, it's a good risk reward trade. I think if we can get up through that 15 mark, then I think it'll be on, because that's showing this could just be a double top. We could hold here, bang, straight back down again, and hold this longer term trend back down to 8 and then start building again. You never know what's going to happen, but if we do from here start to lift and push up through 15, then I would expect more of this action, and I would expect it to start to go more vertical as we start to close that gap. Does that make sense? Just what we're looking at. I mean, the stochastics are in a good little zone here. What's the weekly saying? You can see that big grind high. So it's the weekly, it's taken a bit of effort just to get it up here, but it could easily just pop through the high and accelerate and have a big day, a couple of big sessions up to 20 easily. But we've just got an eye on this one at the moment. I mean, I have for sure. But as an alert, we'll just keep an eye on this one. That was IFM Clement. All right. And straight off the bat, just looking at this daily, I'm not liking that price action. It's quite rangy, especially through here, the way it's blown out down the lows and just rejected it, open down, straight down, back up again, the next day up. It looks to me really, you'd be trading us off the weekly. I think you'd want to be trading it off the weekly. And it is really low volume. It's only down 30 grand so far today. It's probably done a bit more. This is only showing ASX data. I think one of the other exchanges, I keep forgetting the name of it. There's probably a bit of volume on there that could be going through, but I wouldn't think it'd be double. Might be still, well below 100 grand for the day. So yeah, just going back to the weekly, it could easily be a trade. You have got the contraction that you'd be looking for. There's my little drawing tool. So we're always looking, regards to the trend, the current trend up, and this is pretty much the current trend up. We've been doing this since 2016, been going higher. It was looking a bit better here, but then you've got these moves come all the way back down. But then since then, say the start of 2016, it's been holding this type of trend. Been popping up, bit of a pullback. It's not getting out of hand too far on the upside. It's not accelerating too much, not going on too hard. But you can see it's definitely coming back to a zone where it could easily be a buy. You can see that contraction lower just in here. It's accelerated up a bit, didn't get too far before it spent a lot of time. So what it sort of put on, I think that's a weekly chart. That's a weekly. What it put on in, say, 3 weeks, it's taken, it probably took about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks to get back down to lows and then reject them again. But it's been just moving down for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, another 11 weeks or so. Been grinding that sort of contracting lower back to the longer term trend up, the longer term support line. So we'll just see, go down to the daily and just look at this recent price action. Your key would be through, it's for, let's just have a quick look at it. It'd probably be through that 85 zone is what I'd probably be looking at if I wanted to go long on this. We'll just have to see what the price action. So you've had this acceleration up, and then it's a bit choppy, boom, 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 very choppy actually, bang, straight back down. But you can see it's holding this sort of, draw that a bit clearer, this sort of resistance through there. So I mean, it could get, look, if it can hold another some more higher lows just on the daily without punching through that and coming all the way back down to 77, say, if we can hold it, then if it starts looking like it's going to break up through 85, I think that would be a trigger. You take obviously your risk off the last high low and then just see if you can get a push up. But just remember that weekly chart, it may not give you that much of a rally. So you really just want to make sure you got your risk reward in place. If it could be 1.5, 2 to 1. Yeah, I think it could be a trade in this. Personally, I don't like this sort of choppiness in price. I'd rather see the market, accelerate up, some good expansion days. Expansion means your good green candles up rather than a couple of good ones and a couple of good ones down. And it's just these wide ranging candles. Really, I don't like seeing those. But I'd rather see it accelerate up and then it grind lower and then start holding high, low. And then you see these candles get bigger and just green, green, green like this sort of action. If you don't get that, we're probably going to struggle around that 89 mark. If we get that, it's going to blow through 89 pretty quickly and you get up to say 90, 95. around that 95 zone and just see if you can take a partial or whatever from there. But that would be my plan of attack. At the moment, we've got a couple of down days. It's not looking too good, but it still can easily hold that 82 zone where we're now 82 and start to work its way back up. IFM did that. What else we got? IWM. We got the wrong code. IMW. What's your code on that one, Lauren? Just to check. Let's go through Bobby's then. Bring back the hair. All right. India, new on the watch list. All right, let's go down. Bobby's here. Just let me know, Lauren, what code you mean. It doesn't look like there is an IWM. Well, if I haven't got it, that's for sure. Bit energy. Oh. Okay. Is it actually in the US? Is it tradable on the ASX? It may not be tradable on the ASX. Okay, actually, I can get that. You just give me a minute. We'll go through this one. We'll go through these, and I'll get back to that IWM. I can get it off TradeView, TradingView. I'm guessing I can. All right, the weekly's not much to look at there, is it? Really not much at all. Let's just see if we can get that in the last. Yeah, nothing to look at. Not even point. Let's just go back to the daily. Whoa. End of day, daily. There we go. To be honest, I'd just be sitting watching this one just for now. And the reasoning behind that. I can get it up. One, it hasn't even traded. Hasn't traded today. So this, I mean, it could easily just go on with it. You can see this type of action. A lot of time these small ones, they can do that bang, and then they just grinding down, make a new low. You know, like we did here, boom up, and then it could just do. You could do this action again, and just grind lower. I think what you'd have to do, well, what I'd need to see from here is really, it's got to hold high lows, but I want to see some time. I want to see time that it's actually going to hold it. I don't want to see it come back down to this level. You know, it's probably a big ask because it's nearly close to zero, but I want to see it hold some high lows. I want to see it, you know, probably you've still got a key resistance up to around that 250 or that 250 zone. So it could easily hold below there. And then the next one up is around that 350 mark. So just making sure I've got no. All right. So you can see you've got some key levels through here. This probably 250, 2.6 is not really a key level just in here. Let's just get rid of all that. So this to me is probably more like a key level. That really isn't, but it is going to provide some sort of resistance, you'd think, up there. So this market can, I mean, if you're going to buy it through here, for instance, you just pop up and then roll over and can still hold that trend down. So this could be a grind back up, test resistance, roll over. You really want to see it start taking out this zone or potentially up towards that 3.5. And if we can do that, it's just showing that there's a bit more buying pressure in there. And I'd rather get involved when you can see that buying pressure, when you can see it start to edging higher. You can see those high lows building, and then you can see it breaking a key level, potentially that 3.5 mark, and then start to look to get involved with off another high low, or you know, when the market gives you your entry signal. I'd rather see that than wouldn't be buying it through that 2 mark, purely because your risk, for me, the risk would have to be here, but it's not really a confirmed high low because it hasn't broken anything. And a lot of the times the market can be, so it's heading down here. Oh, should I draw it? I'll draw it here. If you can understand what I'm saying, I mean, that's your recent move down. You've got this correction, longer term correction up, and you've got this move down again. And this is your key anchor level here. A lot of the times the market can drag people in by building that high low. They go, okay, we'll buy it. But in context of the move down hasn't been broken. So it can easily do that. And it's what we've talked about a lot. getting those secondary moves, that really start to squeeze people out or into the market. You get that up, holds there, and then starts to boom, roll over again and just drag them all back out again as we squeeze and take out the lows and continue the longer trend down. So this could potentially what we're seeing here. You've got the markets roll over, made your lows, one secondary move up, retest that high, or even up to three, and then bang, straight back down again and squeeze everyone back out again. I mean, you could make a profitable trade out of it. That's great, but you could also be getting in, expecting it to accelerate higher, and getting squeezed out of the loss. So just keep an eye on that one. I hope that makes sense there, Bobby. Bid IGO. Oh, look, this is different. It's going up. Longer term weekly. The way I've been measuring targets, I mean, the daily, you can see that holding high lows, high low, high low, high low, potentially another high low here. We've got a double top up here, but it doesn't mean anything if we're building that higher low, longer term trends up. We could easily just, you could put more faith in the trend than a double top rather than shorting it or selling it out, because your key level here would be, say you bought it here, you can take it a low below, say an exit below around 450 below that low, or you're better off taking it below that low, because you can easily get chopped out with a little wash out of that low, 450, doesn't take out this low in here, and then it goes off again. So this is your key low here, and this is obviously your key highs up at 520. But in saying all that, the trend is still higher. A lot of the times, this double top, if there's a good strong trend, you get this like we probably have here, one, two, that two moves down, and then it starts building again. Just a slightly deeper correction, just to wash out a few more traders, and then buyers start stepping back up to the plate. You can see the move from overbought to oversold here. We're not getting that far in context of this high low at 450 or around that 425 mark. We'll say, it was about 445. Yeah, 446. So that low just in here in context, that's your key low at the moment. So yeah, that daily trend's up. Just looking for, if you're wanting to buy in here, I'll be looking for an entry. Your MAs are up on the weekly. Where could your targets be? I mean, you could easily pop through that high. Where would your targets be? Probably straight up to that $6 mark. And the reason I'd say that is purely because, I mean, if it starts getting on with it, if you just sort of measure those moves out, well, it's not going to really work, is it? Well, it probably will work. 2 to 5. Is that right? $2 up to $5 is 3. You take that 3 to 6, takes us up about 6, which is pretty much in line with that resistance zone up there. So if you're buying it in here, you know exactly where your risk is going to be held, off a higher low. See if you can ride up through that. The initial problem is going to be that 525 mark. But if you can take that out, I think it's just going to work its way up to 6. I mean, that would be equal sort of a leg up, take it right in a resistance zone. So sort of a lot of things add up there. But yeah, keep an eye on that one. That's with regards to this or the other. I think this is a lot better. I mean, you can see that it's probably got a bit of work to do just looking at this weekly before we start turning up. The daily, look, it could be already happening. We just have to see if from here. Just want to show you I'm just talking about this on the daily chart. I just want to draw it on here. We've got a move down, that secondary move down, which is 1, 2. If we start holding up from here and contracting it, but holding some higher lows, then it could start taking out some, then you're going to get your entry setup. That's the way I would look at it anyway. That's where I'd be looking for my entry setups. Your MA is on, is it the weekly or on the daily? Yeah, the daily is struggling a little bit, and that's probably potentially because of that double top up there. I want to see this price action before I'd even be willing to buy it up there. But just remember too, you are getting a bit late in that trend. So this is the trend, the leg up we're talking about on the weekly. You've had some good entries up here, potentially up here. Before we start to, we're just at that $5 mark. So we might need a decent correction off here, off 5, and then go, or we could just pop up from here. You never know. You're probably up against it. It's not the cleanest of setups, but at least it's better than, I think the last one, bid. Yeah. Yeah, we'll see how we go on that. If it holds up here, they can easily spread out again. All right, let's get on to NPL. If I get myself sidetracked. Yeah, so this although it is, you look at the weekly here, what's the daily? What I don't like about it, I mean, just start off with the weekly. What I'm not liking too much about this, we've just come straight into that resistance at 330. In a key level, we got this big expansion up to 3, then it's contracted lower, back down to 240, and then it started to hold higher lows again. It accelerated here a bit. And it was probably a bit more of a grind, this last sort of action, popping up through the highs at 330, popped up, rejected off. We come up, and we've built that lower high at 330. So on the weekly, I'm not too keen on this one as such from that weekly, and it's sort of goes along those lines of what Helen was just saying with the MAs are starting to, they look like it could be rolling over, but for me, it's more the price section of what I'm seeing. We could easily have this secondary move down to 2, and that's potentially because we're seeing that 330 mark, maybe not holding. MDL, yeah, Medibank MPL. So we're just looking at Ryan MPL from Bobby. Then we get on to MDL. All right, so just look at, I think that 330 maybe, you can see it's sort of spiked up through. It's been rejected twice. It popped up here, rejected, pulled back, had another go at it, rejected again, a couple, and had a really deep correction. That could be attributed to the big sell-off in the US, but either way, selling's come into that quite heavy. All right, so you can't, it doesn't matter. I mean, if the market's really strong and everyone's positive on the stock, a big sell-off like we saw recently, you'd expect it to hold up better than this big sell-off. So you can see that anyone who's probably potentially been waiting to sell that, it's just taking the opportunity and bang, sell it straight back down, or exited, if they're long through here, because that's quite heavy selling, has bounced back up, touched on that 330, and that's produced that lower high, and then we're rolling over again. So I'm gearing up more for this one to get in that secondary move down to say 280, 285, 290, and then we'll have to see if it can hold, if it can build a high low again on the weekly. But off the dailies, this price action is not nice at all. It's in that overextended sort of territory, but it could easily pop up, say 320, and build another lower high, and then roll over again. You get some more serious selling pressure. But either way, I'm not positive on this at all. I don't like the look of it. Even on the daily is horrible, really. The weekly could be coming into zone, but it's got some, a lot more work to do before it gets there, I would expect. All right, what do we got? Was that it? That was yours, Bobby. What was yours? Russell, IWM. See if I can get that up. I've got to find where I put it. All right. Not now. You go away. All right. See if I can get that chart up. IW Russell 2000. Gotcha. There we go. That's coming up. See how it's reacted the last, what are we on? We're on a daily. The last 3 days it's reacted off that high. That's after getting smashed down here, along with the rest of the market down to 142. But actually, I'll go to the weekly in a sec, I think. It's that last few days. Actually, I'll draw it up. So you see that trend. Well, it could be holding. I'm just trying to find. Take it now. Look, it could be holding. I mean, this one here, if you're looking at it the way I'd potentially normally look at it, that could just be that, because of the selling pressure, it's just blown through. You've got to look at it 2 ways. One, that's actually broken support, and then you'd be wanting to look for a lower high, or that it's just because the market was in a free fall at that time. It smashed through it, it's bounced straight back again, and then retested it on this low and holding up. So longer term, the trend is still higher. But if you look at it, of what we're seeing in the last few days, we've got a double top essentially up here. Not, I don't like to say that things like that are confirmed. It's backed off 3 days. So you're starting to see there is definite reaction off those highs, the previous highs. So ideally, you've got these high lows working up to it. It's extended up into that zone. If we start getting, a couple of green days up, but it's really falling short, say 159 or thereabouts, and then if it starts rolling over and take out the lows, then okay, this could have a much deeper correction. And then the bias is on the downside because you've got the double top, you've got your lower high, and then just see where it comes to from there. So again, it's looking a lot. They're all looking similar, aren't they? The Russell, the S&P, the Dow. Anyway, what was the next one? MDL. All right, let's get onto that, and then OFX if we can. MDL. Yeah, the trend is up. To be honest, I don't like these kind of moves. If you've got history that's saying you could sit in here forever, to be honest, you can sit in this trade for a long time. What I mean by I don't really like them, it's had a good move up. It is trending higher. It's pushed up. Well, it's just horrible, isn't it? Up here, pull back, accelerate up, just holding higher lows. You've got a bit of chop through here, and that was a good part of, if I'm right, is this a weekly? It, even this, just to get, if you bought it in here, it's taken quite a while to get anywhere near these highs. So the actual length of I don't really like it. See, it's curving up. Just trying to find something good to say about it, to be honest. The good thing is it's trending higher, but it's not taking out the highs significantly before it pulls back. It popped up here and had a pullback. It popped up on this week, pulled back the next week, a couple of crappy weeks, and it popped up through the high here. It's not going on with it. A decent correction back to the MAs. A good week here. It popped up, but it didn't get too much further through the highs, and it's come back and retested it. Then it's come back, here and retested it, the breakout. Again, you've come back, we've smashed it, pullback. So these corrections are getting a little bit deeper than what we've seen in the past, but it's still not getting that far. So if you buy it on a breakout, you're probably going to be up for a little bit. Then you've got to take a fair bit of heat. I'm not liking that too much, and I don't like this candle here either. The fact that it's just popped up through the high, and you probably see it better on the daily. It's taken out the high at $1.20 and then straight back down again. So it's that indecisive candle, spinning top, I think you call it. I'm not a master at my candles, but that's an indecision type of candle where it could easily pop up from here, but I don't like the way it's popped up through the previous high and rejected it in the same week. So if we go back to the daily just to see what the daily is showing us. Oh, intraday. What am I going there for? Daily. Yeah, it's a couple of big down days too. So it's just saying to me where there's weakness, there's selling starting to come into it, and it has been going up for quite a while. It's been quite a long-term trend up, and you'd have to hold it, to be up significantly, you probably have to hold it quite early. So any of these guys that have been holding, they're probably taking heat quite a bit. If you bought it in here, you probably start to take a bit of heat here. If you bought it on a breakout, bit of heat on this day, didn't get too far, then it's okay, you're in, back down again, straight back down to take your breakout at $1. You're back to neutral potentially if you bought the breakout of this high. That's what I'm saying. So some of these late buyers have held it for quite a while and really not getting too far. They're only up, say currently, if you bought it at that breakout of $1, you're up around the 15 cent mark, for instance. So anyone who's bought it in here is not really up that far. So you're not seeing the gains that you would expect for the amount of time you're holding it, if that's making sense. And just recently, we've got that pop up through $1.20 and rejected straight away. A couple of days, solid selling. So I'm not a big fan of this, just the way the most recent price action. And you couple that with the amount of time that's been going higher, well, honestly, I think you could probably see, you could probably find a lot better charts, to be honest. I think you just go on a bit of a search. You want something, ideally, what I'm always looking for is something, it's sort of contracting. If you get this contraction and then you see this little spurt higher, you want a good solid move higher, and then maybe you get a bit more contraction and then another spurt higher. So when it goes up, with the accompanying price action, it goes up hard. That's what you want to see. You want to see it go, because that's just, to me, it's just weight of buyers. It's really starting to show some buying strength. And then you can see they start to go vertical. When they go vertical, if they run into a resistance zone, expect, that's where you want to be taking a partial. If it's in the clear skies, you probably get a bit more out of it, but anything that goes vertical can come down just as hard. But when you're a buyer, that's what you want to see. You want to see these things start to accelerate to the upside. Not really, one day up and then a day that's red candle, a couple of days consolidate, and then a couple of days up, consolidate, and a couple of days up. You want to see bigger moves when they accelerate. I hope that makes sense anyway. So yeah, I'd just be watching this one for now. I'll be sitting on the sidelines. I wouldn't want to be jumping in it too heavy either way. And plus, it's not trading a lot, so this thing could easily pick up volume on the downside. OFX, let's look at that then and just see what that's looking like. Oh, well, if you bought this in here, fantastic. Wouldn't touch it up here, to be honest. Wouldn't go near it. Unless, even if they've got some fundamentally good news, when it's done a couple of days like that, you might say, okay, fundamentals saying it's looking good. They're doing this, this, and this, but either way, you can get some profit taking. And if you bought it around here, it can come all the way back down to $1.55, $1.50, that sort of zone. And then you're behind the eight ball quite a bit right from the start if you're buying it up here. So that's why there's always a lot of emotion in trading, especially when you've got a couple of strong days up. And it is getting a bit overcooked up here. So it's dragging, and a lot of the buying energy to push it up here is probably starting to dissipate. It's really it's running out of that buying. Who's left on the sidelines to buy it? So if you bought it somewhere around here on this green candle when it's breaking out, it break out through $1.50, great. Where you'd put your stop, it's completely up to you. I like to put my stop below the swing, the higher lows, which is way down here. In saying that, I wouldn't take that much risk on a trade. If you run it up here, I'd be taking partials for sure. Seeing if it can expand up to this $1.80, but just these last couple of days, I know they're green days, that's held. It's been bought up during the day. This is open lower, been bought up. This one, it's hovering around like current levels, 168, 169. We could easily hold a lower high around at 170 today, even tomorrow. Start taking out that 163.4 level, this recent low, and then rolling back and really seeing these, the late buyers on that during that session, or even late buyers in that session, washed out of the market again. Does that make sense, guys? So, if you are Zhang, if you're looking at that one, if you're holding that one, great, because that structure there is not too bad. If you're bought into here, higher low here, and you're lucky enough to get part of this action and you're holding on to it, great. But just be wary that, are we starting to run out of steam? And longer term, actually that weekly is not looking the greatest. So if I just draw that up, all right. The weekly I don't like as much, to be honest. But you've got, major double top up here, and that's probably your key support. So I don't know what's happened on the left-hand side. It probably isn't even got that much data. Now that's it. So that's where it started, popped up. So you got this move up here, had to have a good pullback, so it couldn't get much higher. Sellers come in, built a base through that $2 mark, accelerated up, only got as far as the previous highs, and then bang, gap down, massive gap down, took out this low, which is not very good. You can see this move up, it couldn't close that gap, built a lower high, accelerated down again, so you've got this 1, 2 move down, really cleaning out a lot of these buyers that potentially bought it here, bought it on the float, wherever they bought it previously, they're getting squeezed. And then you've got to pop up, pull back, another grind, really just to touch those highs around $1, push back down. So really you can see we're building that picture. It's from the start of 2017, it's just been bouncing around in between those two zones. So going back to the daily, it could run out of steam up here around that 170. It could push up to, was that 180? Could push up to that 180 zone, which is just through here, up to that resistance zone. But just looking at it, the weekly I wouldn't want to be a buyer. The daily I wouldn't want to be a buyer. I'd want to see it. You want to catch it if that's your resistance. You want to be catching it when it's popped up, say it's contracted lower, and then started to build. You've got a longer term higher low, then you're just dropping it down to the dailies to find an entry and see if you can get the weekly leg up, which is going to be a stronger leg than, obviously you're going to get more out of that than a daily leg, but trying to use your daily charts to get in nice and early in the unknown rather than the known All right, that's just that's probably about it, isn't it? Let's probably have to call it a day there. All right, guys. Thanks very much for joining us. I hope that helped, everyone. If you've got any questions, like I said, just whack them through an email. If there's anything else you want to discuss, if there's some sort of topics, regarding price action or entries, exits, anything at all, just whack them through to support@tradesetup.com.au, and we'll look at structuring a session around it. Otherwise, if anyone's got, like I said at the start, if there's anything that you think you'd like to see us do through anything you'd like, David. Sorry, David, I just saw what you're right there, mate. Davin couldn't spell your name, Lauren. Fat fingers there, Dav. All right. Yeah, if there's anything you'd like to see us do with the trade setup, if you think it could help, it could be interesting to put in within the app, just let us know. I mean, we're always looking at something, if we can be done, obviously, and if we got access to it, like we've said, we're putting ICOs, we want to start getting into FX. We're still trying to work that out, obviously. Yeah, then we'll be looking at it if it's worthwhile, if there's a big demand for it. Yeah, we'll definitely look at putting it in and look at offering it. Anyway, we'll call it a day there, guys. Thanks very much for joining us. We'll be back in on Thursday again at 12:30. So enjoy your next few days, and we'll speak to you again then. Cheers. Bye.